told you.
I got them right where I want them. You don't really want them problems. Run slow, your heels are beyond them. Want them all in our dreams, me I haunt them. Calm them.
What's going on, guys? This is Qazi. Welcome back to another epic video. And the approach that we're going to use here is absolutely free. It's going to feel extremely cinematic. It is something that can be done whether you're using the studio version of Resolve or free version of Resolve. But I have to say, there are third-party plugins that you can use to get even better results and more granular control, and tools that I constantly use on my professional projects. So if you want to learn more about that, how to use those tools in the real world, then drop a comment below and let me know. Now, as complicated as this grade looks, I'm here to tell you that we're going to get there with the least amount of nodes, and the look DNA can effortlessly be applied to an entire project. We recently did a survey. Majority of you, regardless of the skill set, are struggling with shot matching, skin tones, balancing, and working with 8-bit footage. So I created a 1-hour-long free training that covers all of that. Plus, we'll wrap up the training with an extensive Q&A, and you'll also get a link to download the practice footage, power grades, and some of my personal LUTs. So guys, you don't want to miss out on that. Click the link below and you will thank me later. And on that note, if you guys are enjoying the content, guys, do me a favor, please just take a pause, smash that like button. It will mean the world to us. That's the only way with YouTube's current algorithms that this video can be seen by more people. So that's a request. Please go ahead, smash that like. There's about 57 to 58% of the people watching my content regularly are not subscribed. So subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when we drop new content. Follow me on Instagram. There's tons of behind the scenes and stuff that I post there to connect with you on a personal level. And let's roll the intro. All right, so you already know your boy is all about the why behind the how. So I'm not gonna just jump right in grading mindlessly. I'm gonna show you first some examples of the complementary color scheme and how to spot it. So to do that, let's close this off, buy some real estate. I'm gonna click on my gallery and let's pull up an image from Moonlight. Beautifully shot, beautifully graded. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And to determine the complementary color scheme, we don't need a quad up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close this off, and in here, I'm just gonna select vector scope, okay? So let's take a second and look at our vector scope, what's going on over here. Think of it as like a pizza that's divided into 4 different quadrants, okay? So we got our warm tones here, we got our magentas here, we got our cyan to blue here, and we got our green to yellow here, okay? So typically you will see a teal and orange look, so that's gonna live somewhere around here. Orange will be right here, and then your teal is gonna be somewhere around here, okay? And we can even see it in this grade, a complementary color scheme, which is teal and orange, but more toward like a little bit of like the warm tones, right? So that's what they're doing right here. Sometimes you'll see the opposite of that. Sometimes you'll literally see magenta and green, like that kind of thing going on, right? Sometimes you'll see magenta and cyan or magenta and blue, and they'll create a complementary scheme using that. So there's so many different variables to this. And let's just check out a few more examples of a good complementary scheme. So you got another one. Check it out. Once again, different environment, but it doesn't matter. Same rules apply. You got the orange in the skin that's kind of pushed more than what you would see in real life. And then you got your skies coming in with a nice little bit of cyan in them instead of like what you would normally see, which would be a typical blue sky. Let's look at a few more examples. This is pretty much the epitome of that Hollywood blockbuster look, and you can see it right here. Once again, similar thing going on, right? So this is important to look at because you can start picking up the pattern. Like they're all the same, right? They just play around with the variations. Some will push more cyan or green instead of blue, but in this case, there's a bit more blue, and then you got a bit more red than say orange going on in the skin tones, and then it's muted. So it creates a really nice, subtle complementary color scheme. Then you can look at this, which is very much in your face. I mean, look at how much saturation is in this image. Mad Max is literally the poster child when it comes to complementary colors, right? Let's just look at a couple of more examples, and then we're gonna go ahead and start creating our own. So this is from Arrival. Once again, right? So like, look at the overall image is so muted through the actual contrast, right? Actual exposure. It's just very breathable, yet there's so much interest in this shot. I mean, this might as well be log, right? Like it feels like it, like it's just living in the middle. Even if I just go and pull up, let's say, waveform, you can see like how this image is just like breathing so much. Yet, when we go back to our vector scope and we look at the complementary color scheme, it's there. Same thing over here. Look at this. What's happening? I mean, you know that's not natural. Like, you know, this is never, ever in your life anything will look like that. Even look at the heavy vignetting that's going on over here, just to accentuate and create that interest in your image. Another image from Moonlight. Look at the theme. So that is what we're going to be learning to create. It is a quintessential look when it comes to creating a cinematic or Hollywood film look. So now that we have this knowledge and this data, let's jump into seeing what we got and how we're going to get there. So I'm going to come out of that mode. I'm going to go back to my nodes and let's just pull this over a little bit to buy some real estate. And this is looking good. Let's actually kill this and move this over. This is good. So that's what we got. This image is shot on Alexa Mini. It's from a music video that I recently graded, which you can watch the entire music video. The link will be in the description. I highly recommend you checking it out. This is my dude, my brother from another mother. So go show him some support. That said, guys, let's dive right in. So as a colorist, the first thing that you want to do is you want to get to an image that the DP saw on set. Since here they did not use any custom LUTs, what we can do to get there is apply our color space transform. We know it's shot on Alexa, so we're going to choose the right settings up here in input color space and input gamma. For the output is going to be for web, and we know it's going to be Rec 709 and gamma 2.4. So as soon as I choose the right settings, this is what we end up with. So this is what the DP was looking at on the monitor when they were filming this music video, okay? And that is very important for a colorist because majority of the time the DP and the director will ask you to take them there. So this will be your base grade, basically starting off point, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go under my gallery and I'm gonna go ahead and capture that still for our own reference. So this is what we got, all right? And you can obviously see it's living in the top left quadrant, which is all warm tones. And honestly, if you look at it, I mean, there's not a lot of color separation here at all. We can see it right here in our vector scope. So when you saw the image in the beginning to this, we have a long way to go. But the way I'm gonna break it down, it's gonna be a piece of cake to get there. All right, so now we're ready to dive in and start creating our complementary color treatment, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to hit Shift S, which gives us a node prior to the node that we were on. And now I'm gonna move it all the way over here. And what I wanna do here is just balance out my image a little bit. So we see there's a lot of warmth in our image. And you know, I love to rely on my offsets right here, my printer lights. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start taking some of that warmth out, right? So that's all I'm doing. I'm just gonna keep working it until I'm somewhat happy, right? Like it's just looking a bit more neutral, a bit more natural. And personally, I think this is a good spot. And just by doing that, and you can see even in the parade, right, how even it looks. Look how the red is so much higher, the blue is all the way down here, and now everything seems to look a lot more natural. So we're already a long way from where we started, okay? But this is where things are gonna get tricky, guys, and I will tell you, pull out those notepads because you need to write this stuff down and like really watch what I'm doing and pay attention to the next few steps, okay? I only use the CST to balance out my image. Now I don't need this anymore. So this is what I'm gonna do instead, all right? I'm gonna reset this node, okay? And like I said, don't get confused. Now, since we're creating a complementary film look, keyword film look, I will be using one of Resolve's free film print emulations, okay? These are available whether you own the studio version of Resolve, which is a paid software, or if you use the free version of Resolve, you will have these available. Now, you guys know I'm not about LUTs, but not all LUTs are created equal, okay? So why am I using the film print emulation available here? Because of this. If you go on shotonwhat.com, you can find movies shot with specific cameras, specific film negatives, or film prints. In this case, we're looking at the Kodak Vision Color 2383, which is a film print, and just look at it. Joker was printed on 2383, Munich, The Dark Knight, The Thin Red Line, A Beautiful Mind, Body of Lies, Shutter Island, Cloud Atlas, Thor, Spider-Man 3, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I mean, guys, this is just the beginning, okay? This just goes on for days. I'm going to show you one more page, and then you can go check out that website for yourself. Transformers, okay? Dunkirk, The Secret Life of Pets, Star Trek Beyond, Suicide Squad. These are some of the most gorgeous looking movies, and they all used Kodak 2383. And that's why we're going to be using that as our look DNA. Now, the caveat with using Kodak 2383 is that most people don't use it the right way. Okay, so this is what happens. If I were to just take this and drop this on, all of a sudden, my exposure drops significantly. You can see it. Everything is crushed. And that's what people usually do. And they freak out, and then they go, I will either never use LUTs again, or these LUTs just suck. But here's the truth that is not very common knowledge, which is you have to do one more step before you apply this LUT. And why? Because Resolve Kodak 2383s were intended to be used with film scan. So since this is shot on Arri Alexa, it's a digital camera. What can we do now? Can we not use it? Do we have to shoot our stuff on film? No. Instead, we're gonna convert our color space from Arri Alexa to Rec 709 and our gamma to Cineon log, because this Cineon film log is what Resolve is looking for to give you a proper conversion. And why did we choose our output color space to Rec 709? It's because we're going to be using a Rec 709 version of the Kodak 2383 D60. Okay, so now all we have to do is create another node, or I can just show you how to do it with a keyboard shortcut, which is Alt-S. And now we're just going to double click on this right here, and voila, look at our vector scope. Look at the complementary colors that we got going on compared to how it was captured in camera, where it felt like it's going to be impossible to get here, and we got there in literally a couple of clicks. Okay, we're not even done yet. So let's start naming these. I'm going to name this my FPE film print emulation. I'm going to name this my CST. That was the process that got us there. I'm going to build my grade on 3 different levels, okay? And let's just do a node tree build out so it makes a bit more sense. I'm going to create one more node here. I'm going to call this look adjustment. This one I'm going to call primaries. And then I'm going to hit Shift S twice to create 2 more nodes that are going to go on this upper level. And the first node is going to be our grain. The second one is going to be our HDR palette. Now, don't get confused about this situation right here. I will explain it very soon, all right? So one thing that I'm looking at right now is that the contrast is still a bit pushed, and that's also because of the way it was shot. We have crazy lighting ratio going on, tons of light on him, not a lot in the background. So to level that out, I'm going to be using my HDR palette, because HDR palette in Resolve is powerful, okay? It is complicated to use because there is a right way to use it, but it is one of the most powerful tools in Resolve yet. Basically what it does is this. I can click on these 3 dots and choose my color space for the camera. So this was shot on Arri Alexa. I'm going to choose that. And then under gamma, I'm going to choose log C because it was shot in log, okay? As soon as I do that, nothing happens here, but a lot happens under the hood. Now, everything in here is going to behave like camera raw, as if we were changing these parameters. And that is powerful. Anybody who's worked with Camera Raw module and shoots in RAW knows what I'm talking about. So now what we want to do here is a couple of things. First of all, I want to take my shadows and bring them up a little bit. I just feel like it's going to help. And just look at how naturally it behaves compared to the regular shadows and highlights we have in our primaries. I mean, just look at the effect that it's creating. It genuinely feels like we just added more fill light on the entire scene. And now what I'm seeing is that his skin is just looking a bit too thin, the colors in the skin. So I'm going to take my global offset and I'm going to start pulling that down, okay? And look how we're getting so much more information and color in his skin. And I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. So I did not mess around with my shadows. I left them where they were. And just guys, look at this. And this global exposure is exactly like your camera. So let me give you an example. If I were to type in 1 here and hit enter, that just went up a stop, as if you change a stop in your camera on your aperture, right? On your actual lens. So if I hit -1 and hit enter, we just dropped a stop, okay? And this is behaving exactly like that because we told this specific tool that we're using Arri Alexa. So I'm gonna go back here and now go back to the adjustments that we made, which were somewhere around here. Somewhere around here. I'm happy the way it looks, okay? And so guys, I told you this tool is extremely powerful. Now I'm gonna go under my look adjustments and I'm just gonna make a last few adjustments, okay? So I'm gonna go under my curves. I'm gonna go under my hue versus saturation. And what I'm gonna do, you can tell right here, I'm under a hue versus saturation. I'm just gonna take my yellow. I'm gonna start dialing it down. And then I'm gonna take my red and I'm gonna dial it down, not too much. I am going for a cinematic film look after all, okay? And I'm gonna leave it somewhere around here. And if I do before and after, it started to look really good. One more thing that I can do that I usually do is under sat versus sat, I just grab it from the tail end and I pull it down. And it usually just cleans off the highlights a bit more and adds a bit more quote unquote cinematic look. So let's just pull this up a little bit. Let's go back under hue versus saturation. Do we need to bring up some of our colors just a little bit? Even if we keep it somewhere around here, if I do before and after, that's a massive difference, okay? And everything is looking good. One last thing, just, me being an OCD that we can do is go under our log wheels, grab our high range, pull it down a little bit to around 0.47-ish. And now what I want to do is, you see all in here, maybe we can add a little bit. So even like down here, we can add just a little bit more magenta in this area. So you'll see what I'm talking about. So like, I'll just go and start adding a little bit of that. And it's not even that much, like we barely made any change there, but you did notice it in his shirt. So it just makes it a bit more clean. And I feel like in terms of our color, we're pretty much done. Why do I have my grain as my first node when time and again I told you to use it as your last node? It's because the way this node tree is structured, I will not be using any qualifiers, so I don't need to worry about what it can do to my actual key down the road. And the reason why I'm using this grain as my first node is if you were to shoot this on film and say it was shot on 60mm or 35mm film negative, the grain will be printed on the actual negative when it comes to resolve. So that's the purpose of these two nodes, how this responded just like the camera raw settings, as if we made those changes on set. The grain is going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go under grain, I'm going to drop that on, and you can see what's happening on screen right here. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to exaggerate it. So I'm going to put it on something like this so you guys can really see what's happening. And let me show you the difference that's going to blow your mind, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new version. I'm going to hit E to detach this node from the beginning. and drop it all the way to the end and just watch what happens here to my grain. It's gonna change completely, okay? So as soon as I drop it right there, boom, you see the effect of where the grain is placed on the node tree changes the entire look and feel of that grain plugin. So if I go back to where we're actually using it as if it was shot on 16 millimeter, look at the difference between the two if you do it after or before. But that was just to show you the actual difference, especially on YouTube. But I'm going to use 35 millimeter 400T, not 16 millimeter, because I feel like it's just a bit much for this look that we're going for. And guys, just look at what we created and how simple it was. So what I'm going to do is, I mean, just look at it. Like, this is how it was shot and looked on set to what we created and how easy it was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill all of this. Let's start off. We started with this. This is RE log. Then when we converted it, it looked like this. Then we went ahead and did our primaries, applied the CST the right way to get it ready for the film print emulation from Resolve. The contrast was a bit pushed, so we went in our HDR palette, controlled it, and then went under our look adjustment and just brought down the reds and the yellows a touch, added some color in the highlights, added some grain, and this is our final look. Let's check it out in full screen.
I got them right where I want them. You don't really want them problems. Run slow, your heels are beyond them. Want them all in our dreams, me I haunt them. Calm them.
So there you have it, guys. I know this tutorial was pretty dense and something that if I were you, I would go back and watch it a couple of times, take notes, because there's a lot of jiggery pokery happening here that is different than what you've seen here. And that's the point of putting out new content, right? Like, you want to see new things, because if we're just showing you the same techniques, then what's the point? So if you have any specific suggestions, whether it comes to a specific tool in Resolve or a specific look that caught your eye, you know what to do. Drop a comment below so we can get on it right away. And do not forget to check out the free training. Link is down below. Check it out. And guys, on that note, please do me a favor, smash that like button so this video can reach more people. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys soon in the next video. Stay possessed.